Greetings. Welcome to day 24 of the 30 days of Halloween. The idea for today's video came to be this morning when I was in the shower. My hair's still a little bit wet. But I thought this is something it's sort of a timely subject, and I thought it might be interesting to you. I also have a little bit of a activity planned for the video, which I was going to do anyway, which I think I can do both because I don't have to spend a lot of time on either one. So, but first I want to tell you about the shower, about my experience in the shower that made me get the idea for the video, and then I'm going to show you the actual activity that I had planned for today, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about today's subject, if that makes sense. I was in the shower and I was doing what I do in the shower, and I was thinking, I was realizing that I get some of my best ideas in the shower. I always have. I get my ideas for song lyrics, for poems, for music, for songs. My husband and I have written songs just about our whole adult lives, well, even before our adult lives. We've co-written a lot of songs. I've written a lot of poetry. I get very creative ideas in the shower. My husband gets, very creative ideas. He used to. As a matter of fact, when we were very young newlyweds, he worked for a time in a machine shop, which was very, a lot of repetitious, very boring, repetitive kind of work that drove him about insane. The only thing that kept him going was he used that time as the sound of the machines were running. He wrote an entire symphony in his head. He would bring home little pieces of paper in his lunch bucket, little scraps of, like maybe on a napkin or on another piece of paper on the back of something, that he would draw out a score and write, this is an oboe part that he thought for the second movement or whatever. It just came to him. That's when it came to him, and during those times when he was just doing this repetition. And I think that happens to a lot of us. For me, in the shower, every time I get in the shower, I pretty much do it by routine. I don't really think about what I'm doing, do I? I get in there, I have a routine. I wet myself down. I wet myself down from the back. I turn and wet down the front. I wash my face. And I then wash left arm, left pit, left boob. Then I repeat right arm, right pit, right boob. Work my way down. No details needed. Get to the feet, do the feet, and then it's time to shampoo the hair. Every time I get in the shower, I do that. I don't have to stop and think, oh wait, did I wash my left foot? It just happens in routine. So my mind is free, not having to worry about what I'm doing. My mind is free for other things. So my imagination takes over. That was what was happening to my husband in the machine shop. His imagination, since his mind was not needed for what he was doing, his mind was free to imagine a symphony playing. The sound of the machines became the violins. We do these kind of things all the time, and I started to think about this, and I thought, what does this have to do with Halloween? To me, I think it has a lot to do with Halloween. And I'll tell you why. I will tell you why in a few minutes. I'm not trying to make a teaser, but I wanted to give you this. I want to make sure that I have this time to get you this little craft idea in. Some of you might be interested in doing this because a lot of you have mentioned that you're not able to get out and get a lot of things that you used to do for Halloween or for Samhain, or you're trying to think of some special ways to do things with what you have on hand. And I'm going to do that very thing today, show you something that I do. I do this all the time, but I've never done it for Samhain before, and so I'm experimenting a little bit with you. But what I'm doing is I'm going to be putting some images on some old candles that I have. And this is what I'm talking about. I hope you can see this. I'll change the camera for when I do the rest of this, but I have this pentacle on the bottom of this little spell candle. I don't know if you can see it. It's on a red candle. I usually don't put it on the red. What I do is when I make up my magic kits, I sell magic kits on my website from my cupboard. I sell different kinds of magical kits, candle kits, but the special intention kits, the spell kits that are for a specific purpose, whether that be some kind of a healing spell or a prosperity spell or maybe a binding spell or something like that, depending on what kind of spell. I select items for your kit based on what kind of spell you're buying. And I always have special spell candles in the color that corresponds with the kind of spell you're doing. But in addition to those colored candles, those spell candles, I include black candles and white candles, special candles for the purposes of enhancing your spell in some way. Some of those involve putting a pentagram on the candle. That's just what I do. I think these are usually done on white candles, so you would be able to see it better. But I just did it here on a red candle for another reason. But the whole process of putting the image on the candle was so much fun and so easy to do that I thought I could share that with you today, and that's what I'm going to be doing. That kind of a little activity. So I'm going to change the camera and do that first. And then we will go into, then I'll talk to you a little bit more about the subject for today's video, which kind of relates. I don't know whether you were able to see or not that candle, but I have a couple candles here, which, to be honest, these candles are ready to go give their lives to my recycling candle wax project, which is something we do. We make fire starters out of old candles. These candles I think they were outside or on the porch or something for a while. We used them for something, then kind of forgot about them, and they got kind of dirty and messy. Here I have a white one, and here I have a yellow one. The yellow one even has some stains on it, and I'm not sure what they are. They're pretty much of a mess. But I thought I would experiment, because what I wanted to do was, I have had great success putting simple things in black and white on the candles. I have not done anything in color on the candles. So I thought I would experiment and do these things in color, putting some decorations on here in color. So if it works, cool for me. But while I'm doing it, I thought then I can show you the process, which is very, very simple to do. And you can pay a lot of money for candles that have images on them. And it's really simple to do if you get just a candle from the dollar store, or just any candle. These unscented candles are not expensive. I guess you could do it on a scented candle too. I just don't usually buy scented candles. But this process is simple. You need candles of any size, as you can see. It worked really well on a small one. I'm putting it on a bigger one. And you need images, which you can get out of the internet. And what I do, like here I did for the, let me show you what I did. In my case, when I was making these little candles, you can probably see it on there. I copied, excuse me, I copied the image to my Word file, and I sized it the right size I wanted on my candle. That was the first step. And then I took that to my printer. Or no, I didn't take that to my printer. This page was still in my Word file. And then I took simple tissue paper, white tissue paper, that I got at probably the Dollar Tree. And I took it a little smaller than the paper on that piece of paper. Actually, on a piece of white paper. I don't have any white paper. I'll turn these over. See, pretend this is white paper. Just a plain piece of paper. I took the tissue paper single layer. That's folded but I would cut it to that size. So that's a little smaller. It doesn't go quite to the edge on any of the edges. Tissue paper taped with Scotch tape just down securely on all sides of the paper. Securely on the paper. Tissue paper, single layer, cut smaller than the printer paper. Make sure you leave room all along. Tape down securely on all edges with the Scotch tape, and make sure that the Scotch tape itself too stays inside the border, inside the paper. Don't take tape over the edge or anything like that. The edges have to be free. The printer paper has to just be around the edges free, and the paper taped down really good on all sides so that it is secure. And then what happens is you feed that tissue paper and paper into your printer, into the printer, and the image that you're, from your computer, and it tapes. I don't want to cut this off. See, it's still taped down. You see the tissue paper? This is tissue paper. The image is on the tissue paper now, but it is taped down to this paper, so it was fed in. And my husband says, he's the one that does it, to make sure you use it in a printer that it feeds in and then just goes out. Don't try to use the printer where it feeds in and goes like that to try to get out, because that's given it a lot of opportunities to catch and tear and jam your printer and danger really thing. So if you can get a printer that just goes that way. But look, it just printed as slick as anything on the tissue paper. And then the next step, and I just have this because I have all these images on tissue paper that I can make a lot more candles, is you just cut around, and you cut, just cut it slightly bigger than the image. You don't want a lot of extra paper, but you want a little bit around the outside of it, because you don't want to cut off any of the black line that shows the outside. Now, I have heard people say, if you're going to use a red candle, use red tissue paper, white tissue paper and white candle. I say balderdash. This was just white tissue paper on this candle, and it turns out perfectly. I used it on black candles. It turns out perfectly. I didn't have any problem. Excuse me. Maybe it's because my tissue paper is kind of cheap. I don't know. But I had no problem. So today's was, let's see if I can do it with colored paper. Colored image. So I took, because I'm going to put this in the altar here, my little altar here in my home, Buddha altar. And so I took some images that are colored. You see, this is a musician, skeleton guy, the dead guy. And here's a dancing one. And this is actually a Shutterstock image, and I'm violation. I'm committing a fraud, or I don't know what I'm doing. It even has a watermark on here, but you don't even notice it. I'm not selling that. I just stole it off the internet. Yes, I stole it. But I'm only using it for a candle that I'm going to burn, so I'm sure it's fine. I'm not trying to sell it. And I think it's a cool image. So I'm going to try. I'm going to put one on this candle and one on this candle. And I just sized them to go on the candle. Have like on one of my image. You can do that really easily on your computer. And now all I'm going to do is just cut these out. Cut one of them out. I have two because I want an extra in case I mess up one. Cut one of them out. And put it on each candle. So I'm just going to cut. I've got little scissors here. Actually. And I can show you how easy this is to do. I'm just cutting it in here. You don't have to cut it this way. You can. Actually, I have little scissors that might be easier. But I want to show you. This is the image is actually on. You see, the image is actually on tissue paper now. Okay, so I just want to go around there. It's kind of close to my image. Leaving a little bit. Okay, I'm cutting off the copyright at the bottom. Sorry, Shutterstock. You see, I'm just leaving a little bit of a border. And I have no idea how the color's going to show up. It could be really crappy. But there, I just did it a little bigger. Just a little bigger. You see? Than the image. Okay? So he's actually going to go on this candle. And I'm going to just actually, before I go any further, the next thing I need is wax paper. Simple wax paper. Nothing special about it, just your ordinary. Again, can we ever improve on the basics of life? No, we can't. And I just need it bigger than my image, which it is. So I'm just gonna get it a little bigger than my image. Now I like it so that it's kind of big around to hold it, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm just cutting it about the size I need it. And of course, you know, I have to keep putting something down on everything because I keep things blow away. Okay, I want it just the height I needed for the image. But for me, I cut it big enough that it goes around the whole thing, which could be wasteful. But I'll tell you why, because what I'm going to use to keep this on here is a hairdryer. Ah, whoops. And this hairdryer, interesting, since I said I had just gotten out of the shower and my hair was still wet, it's because I don't use this. This is not my hairdryer. And no, this is not my husband's hairdryer. This hairdryer belongs to our hens. I bought it for my hens. They have a hairdryer and I do not. Because sometimes chickens get dirty or they need attention or they have one of the biggest things, the biggest thing that they get, which not nice to say, they get pasty butt. Pasty butt. Yes, pasty butt. Where for some reason they got pasty poop sticking on their vent. And that can be deadly. You know, chicks die of pasty butt. It's a really serious thing when it gets on there. Usually they keep it clean and everything's fine. But once in a while, for whatever reason, they get pasty butt. And it's got to be cleaned off because if they can't, the vent is the little hole where their poop comes out and their eggs come out, and got to be free. You got to be able to get stuff out of there, or you got a dead chicken. So I got a little tubby that when they come, I've even seen, I think some people on Instagram have seen my little hens taking a little tubby. And I come in and I put warm water in a little thing and they sit in my sink in a little tub and just chill out and have a little relaxing little tubby time. And then when they're done, I gotta get them dry and fluff their feathers, fluff their butt feathers. And so I use this for that. Well, it works really perfectly for my hens' butt feathers, and it worked really good to get these candles done. So I'm gonna try this one. And it's a simple process. You're going to use the heat. What happens is you use the heat of the hairdryer, which takes the wax, it transfers the wax from the wax paper, which covers the image and makes it adhere to the candle. It's so slick, you can't even believe how slick it is. And it kind of makes noise, but I'm going to do it because I want to show you what we're looking for. I'm going to position the wax paper in such a way that it covers the image, and I can hold it in the back, hold that on there firmly so that it stays in place. And then because the heat from the heat gun Even though I'm going to basically be using low heat most of the time, it still gets hot if I keep my fingers in there all the time. If I kept blowing on my thumb, heat, low, low, low heat. You know, usually you do this when you dry your hair. My chickens, when they get their butts fluffed, I use low heat and I gotta do this. Or I'll burn their little butts. So I use low heat. And what happens is, I hope you'll be able to see it in the camera. You do it and you know you're done because the image gets a little darker on through here as it starts to stick. This starts to melt or whatever on there. The image gets darker, and then you'll see it just transfers right off. I hope that makes sense. You should be able to see from what I do. So I'm going to just take take my image, position it where I want it, try to get it kind of straight. Okay. Take the wax paper, lay it on top, take it to the back so I can hold it, just somewhere I can hold it. I want to hold that steady. And then I'm going to just turn this on low heat. I don't know if I can do this and hold it so you can see it at the same time. But I'll try. I want to stop a minute and show you, I don't know if you can see how the image is darker in one place than in the other, because that's as it melts, the image transfers. That's how it shows up. You can see it's darker. Here the image is dull. Here it's much darker. Can you see that? You get a much quicker effect if you use high, but you can't leave it on there long. It'll burn. It'll melt too fast. So just a fine line, just play with it and see what happens. Your dryer is going to be different than my dryer. I think that's really good. Let's see. Again, I'm going to very carefully peel it off. Lifting it carefully because in case it's not done, I can put it back down if I'm careful. And we got a beautiful transfer. Beautiful transfer. Just little bits of wax. Oh, I'm so happy with that. I'm really pleased. There we go. Look how cute. Oh, that's cute. I'm excited. It makes you want to go and put an image on every candle you own. You'll go nuts. The paper actually came off of the wax paper and it's on here now. It's on here. It's coated. This is coated with wax. So I'm going to take one of these. And I don't know if I like this too much, if I'm going to like it too terribly much because it's tan and the candle's yellow. But this way I'm going to just cut on the tan. I'm not going to leave anything because there's no black line around here. I'm going to cut directly on the color. The one thing I don't like about this candle, this image, is the skeleton's hand is clear up to the very top, so that's going to be a little bit weird, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Let me see. And of course my light is not very good. I'm struggling with light. You'll do much better than I will with your young eyes. You people that have the young eyes. Very age and dog years. Just telling you. It seems to happen gradually, but oh man, when it comes out to you in dog years, it's like. And I have a fan blowing, of course, which makes everything 10 times harder, but Not hard enough for me to give up on that fan. It's much cooler today, but I like the fan. And I think I'm addicted to the moving air. I told you that happens. Okay. This is just going to take a little piece of wax paper to do. And this I don't have quite so much to transfer. So we're going to see how this works. Put that down. Try to get a little strip of wax paper. Of course, I have to go the whole way across. Wax paper is a miracle tool. If you don't have wax paper in your house, go get yourself some wax paper, because I'm telling you, I use it for so many things. In the kitchen and out of the kitchen. And it's just a part of my life. I have so many memories of wax paper. I don't know why. The wax paper that goes in the tins at Christmas time with the cookies in them. All the little cookies, my grandmother's cookies nestled inside the little layers of wax paper. I still do that with my cookies. And my kids sort of have picked that up and done it with theirs. I think it's just a comfort thing. I don't know. But I love wax paper. It makes a happy memory for me. I don't know, I just do. Okay, if I can keep that from blowing away, I have it cut just a little bigger than the image. I'm going around my candle. I guess that's fine. I can hold it. So I'm going to do the same thing. Kind of boring television, but I just wanted to show you how easy this is. And as a matter of fact, I might cover up. I'm going to cover up that ugly little stain. Whatever that was. I might regret it. I might be glad I did it. We'll see. And I'm going to make sure the wax paper is bigger than the image, which it is. It's completely covered. Whole image, just like that. And I'm going to hold it just like that. Why is it buckled? Why is it? Why? I'm trying to get it as smooth as I can, and it doesn't. I think the candle has a bump sticking out up here, so it's not real flat, so it's kind of buckling. So I might not be as happy with this. Let me see if I can move him down. See, it has a bump. See, it's not flat. It has a, it's raised right here. So let me see if I can get him down further to where it's flat. Or on a side. I guess I'm about to do a bigger side, where he will lay flat. I think I'm making this look harder than it is. Remember, I've got a fan blowing, and I'm old. That's a little better. Whoops. A little better. Okay, here we go. I think I did a little bit on high the last time, and then took it right down a little low. I didn't leave it on high all the time. I just wanted to get that wax melted. Okay, you can really see this one. You can really see this, how the wax paper is really, the image is really not dark. I think you can see. It's hard for me to turn it. There we go. It's really gotten dark. So you just carefully peel that off. Carefully peel it off. because you don't want to pick up the wax. And then if you have any bits of wax that you want to clean up, just take it right on the candle itself and kind of melt that a little bit, smooth it out if you have any issues that you don't like. I don't like that down there too much. And there we go, that's beautiful. There we go, that's really nice. It's came out. And you know, the tan background doesn't bother me at all. It does not bother me at all. You can take your finger and smooth around the edge. I just have a little bit of an edge here at the top where my candle, because it was partially melted and it wasn't really flat. But other than that, it's fine. It has the image just like I wanted it on there. The subject that I really want to discuss with you today is catching glimpses, perhaps of the other world. Are we catching glimpses? Are we able to catch glimpses of things that happened in the past, or maybe things that will happen in the future? I know nothing. I want to say, when I start out here, I know nothing about really about communicating with spirits other than what I'm telling you here. It's just my ideas, ideas that have come to me, my own ideas, my own thoughts. I'm not trained in any way. I'm not a medium. I've already said that. I don't have really a lot of experience. I just have ideas. If you want to know, I think I have a friend on Facebook. I don't know if she will watch here or not. Her name is Jennifer Hodgson, and I know she used to watch my channel. She is a psychic medium, and she's a paranormal investigator. She's one of those people that go around with the machines, I think, and detects the presence of spirits, in some of these places. I really think that's so cool. I really do think that's very cool. So she would be one who would be able to set me straight, perhaps, on some of my ideas. I'm not sure. But at the very least, I want to say I have had experiences that my ideas are based on experiences that I've had. And I think all of these experiences of my own I have mentioned in one way or another at some point on this channel already. But I want to put them here together just for those of you who might be new, or just again maybe pull a perspective from bringing all of these things, putting them in one place, and maybe they will give us perspective into answering the question, are these glimpses from the other world that I'm having? And when I say glimpses, I'm talking about experiences using all of my senses, I think we use all of our senses in different ways. Some of us have a stronger ability to maybe see things, or other people might have a stronger ability to hear things, smell. Some people are very susceptible to smelling things, smelling kind of things. I have mentioned experiences that I've had that I know that there's something present. I have had that experience many, many times. Yeah, I walk into a room, I know there's something in the room. I know there's something in the room. I know where it is in the room. I don't know what it is. But I've had the experience of being something in the room that I know how to clear it out of the room. I've had the experience of clearing it out of the room. I've done that for myself. I've done that for friends. I have had those experiences. I have had experiences. I told you I stayed in the same room all the time in a cabin up in the Angeles forest where we slept. My husband and I always slept we're assigned the same room because it had a bed for two in there instead of the bunk beds. And there was a chair in the corner, and I knew there was a man that sat in that chair all the time in that corner. I didn't see him. I never saw him. But he was there. He just wouldn't leave. He wouldn't leave. It kind of drove me a little batty. I had a lot of trouble sleeping because of him. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't hurt me or hurt us, or didn't feel threatening. It just felt kind of invasive. He was invading my space. But I think he felt I was maybe invading his space. So I wasn't confrontational with him in any way. I just went about my day, my night. We didn't spend much time in the room. It was a very, very tiny room. I have had experiences where I have told you in the first, I'm not sure how many years we lived in this house, we had nothing on the end of the house. Our third child was born about 6 years after we moved into this house. And at that point we added on to that end of the house. And so the master bedroom and bath became located, accessed from that end of the house. And from that moment, for years, when I wasn't thinking about it, when I was just going through the bedroom, from the bedroom, either way, into my bathroom, I had to pass through a dressing area that had French doors out into the back, into the shower area or toilet area. And I realized at one point, every time I walked through there, I was answering somebody's question. I was saying something like, I know, or I will, or what, like I was being corrected or being criticized or something for walking through there every time I had to do that. And I would just answer something like that. And I wasn't even really consciously aware of it because it's a routine thing, just walking through the room, going to the bathroom or going to get a shower. You don't think about it. You just do it. You're just doing it. That came to me all the time. My husband has had similar experiences, when he was one day working, he was doing something. It's really stuck with him. He was doing something very routine. Maybe when he was working on a project in the house, he might have been running one of his tools out in the back here where he was working. Maybe drilling or sawing, cutting things, maybe using something that wasn't terrifically loud. Like it might have been a bandsaw or something. He was cutting things. But it was routine, doing the same thing over and over again for some reason. That he wasn't really thinking too much. And he heard his father call him, and he went to answer his father, and all at once he realized his father was not here. His father was not here. His father was deceased, but it was so clearly his voice. He knew it was his father. I mean, it wasn't anybody else, and there was no other man around that it could have sounded like his father. It was his father's voice. These little things happen all the time. I've also told this story when I was going up to Oregon. My husband and I drove up to Oregon for a camping event one summer, and we were going, I don't know where we were, somewhere in Northern California probably still, and some of these highways, the freeway's pretty wide, pretty narrow, kind of narrow. The median in the center is very narrow. It was very narrow, just like a guardrail in the middle. Barely room for the guardrail. It was a very narrow space. We were driving in the fast lane, and I was just relaxing. We listen to music a lot of times in the car, and we have conversation on the car. But this was like a 3-day trip, and I think at this point, it was just quiet. We were just quiet in the car, and I was looking around, but I was not really. It was trees and trees. It was beautiful, but it wasn't like nothing was really getting my attention. I was just kind of leaned back. I wasn't sleeping. It was just very calm, looking around. I had probably taken a break. I usually knit or something in the car. I'd probably taken a break from that, and I was just chilling. Just chilling in the car. And all at once, I looked, and I realized I saw a couple on the median strip, on the middle of the road, trying to cross. The man was helping the woman across that guardrail. And I was so alarmed and thinking, oh my God, they're going to get hit, because it's so, how did they get there in the middle of the median, first of all? And why isn't nobody stopping or honking? And my husband didn't say, I was expecting my husband to say, oh my God, look out, oh my God. He didn't say anything. He just drove. And we just drove right past those people. And he said nothing. And I'm thinking, what the hell? And before I could do anything, I saw the traffic was slowing. And there was this horrific crash. And I knew right away, that's who I had seen. And they weren't people trying to escape, trying to get help because they crashed. The people I had seen did not have cuts and blood and bruises on them. And the people that were in that car in that horrific crash would certainly have had that. I was seeing their spirits. I knew it, and I even said to my husband at that point, Did you see those people? He didn't see the people. He did not see those people. It was a glimpse. I caught a glimpse. My husband glimpsed his father's voice. I glimpsed questions asked to me on my way to the shower. We all have these experiences sometimes that we're not aware. We're not aware. They happen quickly, and it's not until you've had enough of these experiences, I believe, that you even start to pay attention when it happens, that you even realize what happens. When you start to realize what happens, when these experiences happen to you, you will go, well, that's just what that was. It answers some of your doubts. That's what I think. And I would be very curious if Jennifer Hudson is on here watching this, what she has to say, how she weighs in on that. Maybe if she is still here on YouTube, she will do a video response to me in this. I would love to see what she has to say. If not, if I don't hear from her, maybe I'll get in touch with her she's my friend on Facebook. Maybe I can ask her directly if she could address this subject for us. But my question about this is, if these are indeed glimpses that we're seeing, that we're experiencing, glimpses, the reason I say glimpses is I think most people are on the opinion, agree, that when we do see spirits or ghosts in a house or somewhere, those people are there. We're maybe, I don't know if we're seeing them there at the present, or we're seeing the glimpse of them being there at the time they were there, and we're here at this time. And our time, instead of being, like a lot of people say, our time is not linear like we think it is, begin here and end here, that there's parallel times. There are, there's a memory there of what happened when those people were alive there. Now we are there. The time is different. Maybe they're there in 1969 and we're there in 1999. for some reason we catch a glimpse. There was a movie like that. I don't want to give it away in case nobody has seen it because it's a fantastic movie, but it has that for a subject, and I'm not gonna say anything more. If you've seen it, you know which movie I mean. It's very fascinating, the idea that we're there at the same time as somebody else. And that's kind of the way I feel. That's why I feel. Now, as far as the spirits visiting us at Samhain, I believe that they are coming to us at this time that we're here. But I have to say, I had a dream last night about my grandmother. I told you I dream about dead people quite often. And they don't talk to me. My grandmother spoke to me last night in my dream. As a matter of fact, I was able to hug her. I don't recall the hug, but I remember going to her and hugging her. Now, I don't know that I could actually feel her. I don't think I did. But I had the sensation that I was hugging her. And she was so relieved. She sounded so grateful that I was there with her. And she said to me, "I'm so happy you're here for Thanksgiving. I'm so happy you came here for Thanksgiving." And I'm thinking, Thanksgiving? Well, it's not Thanksgiving. Should I tell her it's not Thanksgiving? I don't want to tell her it's not Thanksgiving, but why does she think it's Thanksgiving? You know, I remember just being kind of confused about that. I did not say anything. But it made me wonder, was it a dream or was it a glimpse? Was it a dream or was it a glimpse? And she didn't know what time I was in, and I didn't know what time she was in. I don't know. It's so fascinating to me. Now, people say to me, "Well, you're kind of special, Rebecca, because you do have these experiences." But I've never had these experiences. I wish I could have these experiences. Well, I don't know. I would like to ask Jennifer again what her take is on this, or anybody else who knows. But it seems to me that these are things which can be learned. I think we're born with these innate abilities. You know, we talk about, and I'll tell you why I think that in a minute. But you know, I believe I've developed my abilities over the years. I believe since I have come to realize that I am an empath, I've given in to try to fight those feelings that used to kind of make me sick to my stomach. Now I know what they are, the feelings of experiencing the energies around me. Now I know what I'm experiencing, and now I know I have some ways of controlling it a little bit. I've learned some methods to control some of that anxiety through wearing crystals, among other things, through wearing gemstones, among other things. That I am not quite so frightened or put off by it. That now that I've given into the fact that I am an empath, I think I've developed acuter. My senses have all become more acute. That's what I'm trying to say. And I believe this is why when I go into the yard, you know, people say, "Oh, you had such a wonderful experience with Bird." If you don't know my story about Bird, you need to look on my website. There's a link. There's even a short little film about it. There's a blog in my blog about Bird, my experience with Bird, which was a crow that I had a very, very personal experience with. But since then, I've also had experiences with a couple other fledgling crows. One particularly we called Little Bird, who I found Little Bird while I was out in my garden. He wasn't in my garden, he was in a neighbor's garden. I was sitting in my garden suckering tomato plants, pulling the suckers off of my tomato plants, and just sitting there on my little bench with my face in the, not really thinking, you know, just doing it. And then I'm just sitting there and enjoying the quiet. It was so quiet in the neighborhood. And I like to listen to the birds. We have all kinds of birds around here. Or listen to just, you know, enjoy the sun, enjoy the breeze, enjoy the smells. It was early summer. And I heard it. I heard this baby bird in the distance. Just very distressed little baby crow. And I was going to ignore it for a while, but there was no other crows around. Usually you'll see the adult crows around. They'll even call to it like they're telling it to, you know, get up, you can do it, come on, you can do it, be a man. there were no other crows around. Nobody was paying attention. It went on for a very long time. So I decided to investigate and see what was the matter with the little bird. And I know if I would not have found that bird was in distress, and we were able to help it. And I want to say, most people would not have heard it. But most people would not have heard it. Why? Because a lot of people, like even my husband, when he goes outside to work, he's got the classical station on the radio cranked up full blast. He's got noise. People have electronics on all the time, or they're always taking pictures, or always looking their, I don't even carry my phone with me. People get so mad at me. I don't carry it everywhere on me at all times. So people get mad. Didn't you answer my text? Well, I didn't have my phone. I'm not really attached to electronics. I use them, but I'm not attached to them all the time. I use my senses. I like the quiet. I like to sit in the gazebo and just listen. I don't take a book to the beach when I go to the beach. Everybody has a book, or they have their music, or they have something. I go to the beach and I watch the waves and watch the fish and watch the gulls and watch the people and feel the breeze and feel the sand and experience the water, and that's it. What is there for me, that I take what is there for me. I don't bring other stuff to the mix. I don't put other stuff in the mix. So in that way, I think I'm practicing being sensitive to my surrounding. I don't know, but I think if that's the case, we can all try to sensitize ourselves in a little way so that maybe we can experience these glimpses. We all can have them. Because I'm going to tell you, you can say what you will, and you can say maybe it's made up, or maybe it's my imagination, or wishful thinking, or it's dreaming, or I'm making something that's not there. I don't care what you say. It doesn't matter what you say. I find comfort. That accident on the freeway was horrific. But I found comfort before then in seeing those people beforehand walking away from it. They gave me comfort. So when I did look at it, when I realized the horror of what I had seen, I felt a sense of peace because I had seen them walk away from it. Whether that was my grandmother in my dream last night or that was me making her up, it gave me comfort. It gave me comfort, and I'm good with that. I'm good with that. It doesn't matter if you believe me or not, because I'm good with that. Our experiences are our own, and we have to make of it what we will. I mean, we have, you can choose to forget it, or you can choose to try to give meaning to it, or that's up to you. If it's something we can learn, can we exercise ourselves how can we exercise ourselves other than practicing like I do, like I said, trying to just have silence or do meditation or those kind of things? And I was thinking one thing that led me to this, tying this activity into this subject today, was I want to talk to you about scrying. Scrying is all about using our second sight, which, in other words, things that can be seen without the use of our ordinary senses, the five senses we think about. This is using our second sight, which is sort of like the glimpses that I'm talking about, this other sense that we have. Okay, and this is a subject for a whole other video, which I would like to get to after this series is gone. I'll put that on my list for one of my videos I would like to talk to you about, because there's different ways of scrying. A lot of people they're very familiar with like using a crystal ball or using a mirror, a blackened mirror. A lot of witches have a blackened mirror that they use for scrying, specifically for that purpose. But there are a lot of other ways you can scry, and one of those is with flame, looking into flame, or looking at the flame of fire, or looking into a flame of a candle. So that way the candle kind of ties together. Maybe it's a stretch. I don't think so. So we are going to talk about that. I promise you we'll talk about that another time. But in the meantime, and the reason I just want to point out that the reason that I think this is related is because in order to scry, this is an important point, in order for that second sense, that second sight, or whatever it is, to kick in, you need to sort of dull your other senses. You need to put yourself almost in a meditative state where you're really not listening. You're not listening to a radio or conversation. You're not, you're maybe don't have bright distraction of bright lights or a lot of stuff going on around you. Maybe the room is slightly dark or whatever. But you're not, and you're looking. You're scrying. You're using your eyes, but you're not looking intently like you look to read. You're not looking like you're reading. You're softening your sight, relaxing your eyes to see with another sight, another form of sight, a relaxed eye. Okay, so isn't that the same thing? A relaxed eye and other senses is the same thing as doing these repetitive, where I'm not thinking, I'm not using the brain, I'm tuned out, and I'm able to catch these glimpses in other ways, using another kind of sense. I don't know if they're connected or not. I think they are. To me, they are. I'm not very good. Maybe I'm not being very clear about how I think they're connected, but I think they're connected. We'll get into that a little more when we get into scrying. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this discussion. The discussion. It wasn't a discussion because you didn't talk back. Sorry. But it will be a discussion if you leave remarks down below. Hopefully we'll get some news from Jennifer Hodgson to see if she can maybe help us a little bit with this. But other than that, I want you to get into the habit of listening, seeing, watching. Don't look for something. Don't listen for a fledgling bird, but listen so that you're aware. If you hear something that you'll notice. Get used to listening to nothing. Get used to seeing nothing. Get used to hearing nothing. Get used to just sitting, just being. Right? I didn't go to sleep last night hoping to communicate with my grandmother. She just showed up. Okay, that's what happens. And if you do anything with candles, let me know if that was something that you tried. I'd love to know if you tried it. It was so fun. It's so fun. And it's not just for Samhain, it's for any time. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you tomorrow. I wish you blessings.